18 months ago, I deleted my Instagram, my TikTok, which had over 150,000 followers on it, and my YouTube channel, and just completely disappeared. I just deleted my personal brand overnight. My personal brand was making me 20K per month in net profit just off consulting, and was fueling my agency at the time, which was doing around 50 to 60K per month. And in the 18 months that followed, I grew a business, a startup that I'm now running, which does over 6 figures per month in monthly recurring revenue. We've got goals to grow it to have an 8-figure exit one day. And the craziest part about this business is that no one knows I own it. So in this video, I'm speaking to the agency owner, the business owner, the coaching owner, the consultant, whoever it is that is making good money and is leveraging their personal brand, is generating good cash, but really wants to build a legit business, a business that has enterprise value, a business that isn't growing because of them, a business that runs by itself, grows by itself, a business where their face is not associated with it and it doesn't matter. The brand itself is where the value is. And a business that they want to grow that has a much higher ceiling than just running an agency. So if that's you, I'm going to tell you my story, and hopefully there'll be something that you can walk away with that is valuable to you. So if we rewind a couple years ago, I was running an agency, and I had been running an agency for around 4 to 5 years and offered every service under the sun, from website development, SEO, Google Ads, serviced every single niche, from accountants to lawyers to construction companies, and even e-commerce businesses too. And I was always, finding myself in this loop. I was stagnating, hovering between like 50 to 100K per month, depending on the month, depending on the year, depending on what was happening with my personal brand at the time. And that was the issue, that all my clients came because of my personal brand. And it was great. I made really good money, great cash flow, high margins. It's probably what you're experiencing. And if you're happy doing that, that's amazing. But personally for me, I wanted to build a real business. And to me, a real business is a business that can operate without me, grow without me, and holds value without me being associated to it. And I just did not feel that at the time. And the truth was, I didn't own an asset at the time. I had an agency, and even though if it was profitable, you could say, well, if you take your 20 to 30K a month in EBITDA, you can multiply that and that would be your valuation. Yes, but anyone who would be looking to buy you would say, and how much of this revenue that you're generating comes because of you? So what happens when we get rid of you? Do you have any other acquisition channel? No. Okay, so really, without you, your business does $0 in EBITDA, therefore your business is worth nothing to us, right? So knowing that, I was like, okay, I want to build something really big. I want to build something with a huge growth opportunities, and I want to build an asset. I want to know that every month, every year that I add revenue, that I add profit, I'm not just making more money, but I'm also building an asset in the process. And so I began the journey of the journey that essentially led me to where I am today. What happened exactly was I decided to first and foremost niche down. I got this advice from a mentor, and it was one of the best decisions I made. I was running an agency, servicing everyone, and he just said, niche down. Just niche down, choose one service, and get really good at servicing them. So I said, no problem. And I started, I chose a niche that I was a specialist in, that a niche where I just took a look at all the clients that we're working with, who retained the longest, who we generate the best results for, who I enjoyed working for the most. And I just went, boom, you. And I chose that niche. I started letting go and parting ways with any other client that I had, and stopped taking on any other clients that we had that were reaching out, that weren't in this niche. And then I quickly realized just how of little value my personal brand was to me when I started to try and build a legit business, a business that I could actually grow and scale, because the niche that I was specialized in, I didn't have a lot of people who were following me who were in that niche. So I started looking at paid ads as a way to acquire more customers. It was through that I realized just how much me relying on my personal brand was actually giving me a false sense of reality of how good I was at business. When you think about how to know if you're good at business, you just have to think about the disciplines that make a good business person. So how good are you at marketing? How good are you at sales? How good are you at leadership and essentially attracting talent? And when I tried to go beyond my personal brand, I discovered that I was shit at business. And all the money that I was making, all the revenue I was generating, all the staff that I had hired, the growth that I'd experienced in my business was built on my personal brand and was in no way, shape or form because of how good I was as an entrepreneur. And when you want to build something really big, when we want to start playing the game of 8 figures, 9 figures, you have to be a legit entrepreneur, not just someone who's got a bit of a following online that you're converting into cash, right? And what made me realize this is I started advertising to my niche. They would jump on a sales call and I'd speak to them just like I spoke to people who I was speaking to who came from my personal brand. And guess what happened? My close rate went from 70 to 80% to almost nothing. Like literally nothing. I was like, what's going on? Oh, the lead quality is bad. And I started blaming all the things that you typically blame. Lead quality is bad. There's something wrong with them. It's the industry. It's blah, blah, blah. Really what it was is that I didn't know how to sell. I thought I did, but I didn't. I did not know how to sell. What I was doing before was not sales. And so I started to learn about sales and high ticket sales and started watching people like Cole Gordon and Charlie Morgan and Jeremy Minor, and started to realize that this discipline of sales there's so much more to it that I had no idea that I did not know. And I realized I was terrible at sales. So if I went from thinking I was absolute, king of sales, which I thought I was because I was closing everyone, to being humbled and realize that I suck at sales, it would make anyone question just how good they are at business, because that's a crucial discipline. Number 2, marketing. You would think as a marketing agency, I was good at marketing. And I realized that I wasn't, because I was running the ads and I did not know how to attract my target audience. My lead cost was through the roof. My show rates sucked. And I just could not market to save my life when I really needed to put, effort into it, right? When I wasn't just launching a simple, lead gen campaign, when I wanted to actually spend more than $2,000 a month on advertising. And then I started learning about the world of offers and learning how to actually media buy properly, how to write ad copy, how to write hooks, how to craft VSL funnels. All of these things that I did not need to do before, because my funnel before was people messaging me on Instagram saying, hey, I've got this business, I want to use your services, and me sending them my Calendly link, right? And then I started actually having more difficulty when I tried to replace myself as a salesperson. And then I realized that even if I could sell, right, in order to really scale and grow my business to the level that I wanted it to get to, I needed to build a business where someone else can sell my service for me, because otherwise we're going to be capped at the amount of time that I have available to actually take sales calls. And when I tried to hire someone to take sales calls on my behalf and I didn't really have a script, I just kind of winged it and eventually got to a point where I was closing some deals. I learned that in order to grow a proper business with sales reps, you have to have proper scripts, proper training, proper objection handling, because not everyone is going to be able to sell like the owner can. And that journey of just niching down and really going for it exposed so much to me. And it essentially exposed that I was not running a legit business. And I was not a legit business owner, I was not a legit entrepreneur, and I really wanted to be. And if I want to achieve my goals of building a business with proper enterprise value that can run itself, that can grow by itself, like my dream is to disappear for 3 months, come back and my business does more in revenue, more in profit, and is more valuable, right? If I want to do that, then I've really got to, first of all, accept reality for what it is, and get to work in becoming a true entrepreneur. So the decision that I decided to make at the time was to remove what it was that actually gave me the false sense of reality at the time. I decided to make a commitment that I was no longer going to rely on my personal brand, that I wasn't going to rely on content that I posted online. I know it's a drastic action to take, but I needed it. At the time, it's what felt right. So that's when I just decided to delete everything overnight, completely disappeared off the face of the earth, and didn't tell anyone, didn't even put up a post saying I was going. I just one day deleted everything and made an absolute commitment that I would figure out how to build a business that did not rely on my personal brand and was just completely self-sufficient. In the process of doing that, by the way, I will say it was one of the most difficult things that I had to go through. Extremely, extremely painful. So much identity work that was required. Had to break through so many limiting beliefs. My ego took an absolute hit. I had to really humble myself. I had to learn new skills. It took so long for me to get better at these skills, and I literally just locked myself in a room and was working like a madman for 12 to 14 hours a day trying to pull this off. And I specialized in niche. And the second key thing that I walked away with lesson-wise is if you want to build something really big, unless you have a really small market, even if you're niched, if you become the absolute best in that niche, you can become a big fish in a small pond. So my niche isn't that big. Like, it's not the most popular niche. My niche isn't coaches and agency owners. It's not e-commerce, right? I have a really specific niche, right? When I tell people what my niche is, they just go, really? That's so random. Like, it's like a niche of a niche, right? But I told myself I'm going to choose the biggest problem that my niche has, which is what most niches actually have, which for this niche was customer acquisition. I'm going to choose to solve that problem better than anyone, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And that was the other breakthrough lesson that I had. As an agency owner, we're kind of always obsessed with just trying to like minimize churn and maximize how many customers we're signing on. But if we just focused on solving a problem that one niche has better than anyone else can, then you can charge what you want and you will make not just more money, you can charge a higher monthly recurring number, like a higher retainer, but they will stick around longer because you produce better results than everyone else. So you'll have significantly higher LTV, right? And much less, much lower churn. So I told myself, I'm not going to put any limits as to what service I'm going to offer. I'm just going to focus on solving the problem. And that was really difficult because at the time I was just a marketing agency. So all I knew what to do was to run ads to a landing page or instant, meta form, get leads, send it to the customer and ask them to call. But when you focus on a specific niche and you make a commitment to solve their problem and you start to listen to the same people complain about the same thing over and over again, you start figuring out what else you can do for them that would make you significantly more valuable. And to me, that was us stepping up and not just being a marketing company, but also building out a sales arm of our business where we would call our customers leads and speak to their customers. We would call those leads fast. We would follow them up because our customers weren't calling leads fast enough, didn't know how to speak on the phone, didn't know how to qualify properly. They weren't that good at sales, and they were constantly complaining about lead quality. They would churn just because they had a bad phone call conversation. They get so frustrated and they feel like their time's wasted. They're like, hey, just cancel my ads. Like these leads are bad quality, right? So the solution that I found was just to jump in and start calling their leads. And when I did that, I solved a major pain point. And suddenly my retention went up and I was able to charge more money. And my clients found us more valuable than the previous agency they had worked with. And I started to get this feedback. Oh man, the previous agency, I got no result. They suck. You guys, I've crushed it. And I've had such a better experience. And why? Because we did the thing that no one else is willing to do, which is actually just pick up the phone and call the leads that we're generating for them, which you can actually only do, by the way, if you're focused on one niche. Because if I had multiple niches, I wouldn't figure out how to actually speak to these customers properly. But because we only had one niche and we were only advertising to their customers, we became very good at speaking to their customers and understanding their customers and how to qualify them, what questions to ask, and what can we do to best position our clients to get this sale over the line. Then after that, the next problem they had was they were really bad at sales. So we started providing sales coaching. We put together a sales program which doubled or tripled some of their close rates, and they started making more money. And then as time went on, and we became really, really good at what we did, and we had our ear on the ground. We were speaking to their customers, we were speaking to them, and we became experts in our niche. We then had our breakthrough, and that's what you'll have if you're paying attention. So the big revelation that I had was I met with another agency owner who was specialized in a niche, and he was starting to make moves that went beyond just being an agency owner. And I was like, man, like you're pretty much like owning their businesses. Like you're looking to like start your own version of their business. And he's like, yeah, man, when you're as good as us, and he was talking about me, he saw the results. He's like, it's almost sad for you to only be doing work for hire services. And you'll have clients that you run ads for, you produce all these results, and then they'll just cancel you and continue to run your ads. So you don't actually own anything. You don't have any ownership. You don't even own the leads that you're generating for them. Every dollar in advertising you spend, you're advertising their brand. There's nothing that you retain. And I was like, yeah, that's true. I was actually going through that. And he goes, fuck that, man. Own the industry. And I was like, wow. And that's when the penny dropped. So when I started thinking about owning the industry, that's when I came across and eventually found myself in doing what it is that I'm doing. And this is what I want to say. If you're really good at what you do, and you're actually a really good, really legit sales and marketing person, and you actually build the legit business skills required to build a business that doesn't just rely on personal brand and everything else. Like you can sell cold traffic, you can advertise to cold traffic, you can hire and recruit people via cold traffic, and you can build systems that are repeatable, that can be done by other people, and a service that can be delivered by someone other than yourself. If you do that, you will build all the skills necessary that will lay the foundation for you to identify and build the big business in the industry. And the breakthrough for me was when I realized that I had an opportunity to actually build a marketplace that connected my clients' customers with my clients. And that's what I ended up launching. And ever since, in 18 months, I went from running an agency where we were doing all these sales and marketing for our niche, to completely pivoting into this business. We're at a point now where we own a platform in the Australian market that connects my clients with their customers, and we offer a service for the customer and we offer a service for the client. And in 18 months, we are now at over 6 figures per month in monthly recurring revenue. So 7 figures a year in annual recurring revenue, almost multi 7 figures. We're scaling and we're growing quite quick, and no one knows I own it. I'm not in any of the ads, not in any of the sales calls, not in any of the account management, not in any of the service delivery. And the business itself is well known in our niche. People know what it is just because of the name. It's not because of me. It's not because of Leo anymore. And so this has set me up now to be going down a path where I can look into a potential raise. I can look into a potential future acquisition. And I'm building a business where I know with every $100,000 a month in revenue that I add, I've increased the valuation of my business in proportion to it. and we own the industry. We own it. We have ownership in the industry. When my clients now leave, they don't leave with anything. We retain all the IP. So one of the things that I can say is, for example, when you advertise clients, they spend money on ad spend and you're advertising their business to generate leads. In our version of our business model, we don't do that. We actually factor in ad spends in what we charge them, and then we essentially collect that $1,500 or $2,000 a month that they would have been spending on advertising their brand, and we collect it from them and everyone else, and we just advertise our brand. So we're now the highest spenders in our industry in every city. We generate more leads than everyone else, and we're building brand awareness. So we're gathering ad spend and essentially building our brand, which is then going to generate organic inquiries and more brand awareness, and essentially a business that will compound as the years go on. Because in 5 years' time, after spending, let's say we spend 3 million, 4 million in advertising our niche, on our brand, we'll get to a point where potentially 50% of all of our inquiries come via word of mouth and referrals, right? And so you just have this business where, say, for example, ad spend, the amount you need for ad spend goes down as the brand is being built. And so at the moment you can keep charging the same amount, but the requirement for ad spend is less to fulfill quotas for your clients. And so your profitability starts to increase quite significantly. And yeah, I could fully nerd out and go into the specifics of it, but I share my story to essentially say that there is a bigger opportunity out there for those of you who are really good at what you do in the marketing agency space. The first step is niche down. Second step is become obsessed with solving the biggest pain point that niche has. For example, customer acquisition. The third thing is become obsessed with solving it and do not put any limits on what you're prepared to do to solve their problem. So if you have to call their leads, call them. If you got to build an AI software, build that. If you got to do their email marketing, do it. If you do everything, do whatever you can for them to solve the issue, and then be patient and wait for the industry play. It will pop its head out and you will identify it and you will make that move. And you will put yourself in an opportunity essentially where you have all of these powerful skills, like these raw business skills, and be a specialist in a niche, and you can build something that could be worth big money enterprise value wise. So yeah, I'm still on my own journey of discovery, but I thought I'd share what I'm up to in hopes that this might help someone. I know it would have helped me a lot if I'd watched this back in the day. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I'll answer anything. And if you want to reach out and have a chat to me and pick my brain, feel free to as well. Okay, until next time.